A human pregnancy begins with a single fertilized cell, and over the next 40 weeks that cell divides, specializes and develops into a complete human body with a brain, a beating heart, lungs, limbs and billions of connected cells working together. From the first moments after fertilization to the baby's first breath. This is how the human body develops inside the womb. Pregnancy begins when a sperm cell successfully fertilizes an egg. At that exact moment, the genetic information from both parents combines, creating a completely unique set of DNA. The result is the first cell of a new human organism called a zygote. Although it is microscopic, this single cell already contains the complete genetic instructions needed to guide the development of the entire body. Inside its DNA are the biological directions that influence how every part of the body will form, from the development of the heart and brain to facial features and inherited traits. But this first cell does not stay alone for long. Soon after fertilization, it begins dividing. One cell becomes two, two become four become many. As these cells continue multiplying, they also begin specializing. This process is called cell differentiation, where cells begin taking on different roles. Some will become nerve cells. Some will form muscles and bones, and others will develop into organs and tissues. Within a few days, this growing group of cells becomes a structure called a blastocyst. The blastocyst continues traveling toward the uterus, where it will begin the next important stage of development. After reaching the uterus, the blastocyst attaches itself to the uterine lining in a process called implantation. This is when the connection between mother and baby begins forming. During this stage, a temporary but essential organ starts developing, the placenta. The placenta will support the baby throughout pregnancy. It provides oxygen, nutrients, hormones and immune protection, while also helping remove waste products. The placenta acts as a carefully controlled exchange system between mother and baby. The two blood supplies usually remain separate, but important substances can pass between them. At this stage, the embryo is still incredibly small, but some of the body's most important structures are already beginning to form. The cells organize into different layers, and each layer develops into specific parts of the body. One layer contributes to the nervous system. Another helps form muscles, bones, and the circulatory system. Another develops into organs such as the digestive system and lungs. One of the earliest structures to appear is the neural tube, which will later become the brain and spinal cord. Around the same time, the heart begins forming. The heart is one of the first organs to begin functioning. Before there are hands, feet, or a recognizable face, the foundation of the cardiovascular system is already being created. During these weeks, development happens extremely quickly. The embryo begins changing from a small group of developing cells into a recognizable early human form. The brain continues growing rapidly. The eyes and ears begin developing. The structures that will form the face start taking shape. Small limb buds appear, which will eventually become the arms and legs. The fingers and toes begin forming. Inside, the body organs continue developing and becoming more complex. The liver, kidneys, digestive system, and other structures continue their early formation. By the end of week 8, the basic structure of the human body has been established. From this point forward, the developing baby is called a fetus. During the 3rd month, development begins shifting from creating the basic body structure to growth and refinement. The fetus continues growing larger. Bones begin hardening as cartilage gradually becomes stronger. The fingers and toes become more separated. Facial features become clearer. The kidneys begin functioning and producing urine, which becomes part of the amniotic fluid surrounding the fetus. This might sound unpleasant, but fetal urine is very different from adult urine. It's mostly water because the placenta removes waste products from the fetus's blood. Fetal urine contains very low concentrations of waste like urea and creatinine compared with adult urine. The digestive system continues developing. The fetus can also begin making small movements. Although they're usually too subtle for the mother to feel, by the end of this stage, nearly every major body system has begun developing, although many organs will continue maturing throughout pregnancy. The 2nd trimester begins with a major growth phase. The body starts becoming more proportional. Earlier in development, the head was much larger compared with the rest of the body. Now the rest of the body begins catching up. Facial muscles develop, allowing the baby to make small movements and expressions. The nervous system becomes more advanced, bones continue strengthening. The fetus also becomes more active as muscles develop and movements become more coordinated. During this time, many mothers begin feeling movement for the first time. These first movements are called quickening. They happen as the fetus becomes stronger and gains better control over its muscles. By the 5th month, the fetus begins developing stronger connections with the environment. The hearing system develops, allowing the baby to detect sounds. The fetus can hear internal sounds, including the mother's heartbeat and movements inside the body. It can also begin responding to sounds from outside the womb. The body continues developing unique features. Hair follicles form, eyebrows and eyelashes begin appearing, and one of the most distinctive human features develops: fingerprints. The tiny patterns on the fingertips form before birth and remain unique throughout life. During the 6th month, the brain and lungs undergo major development. The fetus begins practicing breathing movements by moving fluid in and out of the developing lungs. However, it is not breathing air, yet oxygen is still delivered through the placenta and umbilical cord. The lungs begin producing surfactant, a substance that helps the air sacs in the lungs remain open after birth. The eyes begin opening. The brain becomes more complex. The fetus becomes increasingly responsive to sounds and movement. As the 3rd trimester begins, the baby enters another important stage of development. At this point, the brain undergoes rapid growth. Millions of new connections are forming between nerve cells, allowing the nervous system to become more advanced. These connections help the baby gain better control over movements and respond more effectively to changes in the environment. The baby can stretch, kick, and move more intentionally. The body also begins storing more fat beneath the skin. This fat will become an important energy reserve and help the newborn regulate body temperature after birth. The eyes can open and close, and the baby begins developing patterns of activity and rest. Although the baby is still growing, many of the basic systems needed for life outside the womb are already in place and continuing to mature. During the 8th month, the baby focuses mainly on growth and preparing for birth. The brain continues expanding and becoming more complex. The lungs continue developing and moving closer to full maturity. The body gains more weight as fat continues building beneath the skin. The baby also practices important skills needed after birth. These include swallowing, sucking, and breathing movements. These movements are essential because after birth the baby will need to feed and breathe without support from the placenta. After nearly 40 weeks of development, the baby reaches the final stage of pregnancy. The major organs are now developed enough to support life outside the womb. Throughout pregnancy, the placenta has provided oxygen, nutrients, and other support needed for development, but soon, the baby will make a major transition, moving from depending on the placenta for oxygen and nutrients to using its own lungs and body systems. Birth marks one of the biggest changes in human development. During labor, the uterus contracts, the cervix opens. The baby moves through the birth canal. And after months of development inside the womb, the newborn enters the world and takes its first breath. Before birth, oxygen was delivered through the placenta and umbilical cord. After birth, the lungs expand and begin bringing oxygen directly into the bloodstream. The heart also undergoes an important change. Before birth, the baby's circulation was designed around receiving oxygen from the placenta, allowing blood to bypass the lungs because they were not yet being used for breathing. After birth, those pathways gradually close and blood begins traveling through the lungs to collect oxygen. The newborn is now able to support its own breathing and circulation. A single microscopic cell has developed into a newborn human being. In about 9 months, a single fertilized cell transforms into a complex organism made of trillions of cells working together. Every stage of development depends on precise timing and communication between cells. From conception to birth, pregnancy represents one of the most detailed processes in human biology.